echo through generations to come. That's a theme he repeated actually twice in this speech. I mean, Nia Malika Henderson, a history-making speech from Kamala Harris, and really a history-shaking speech by President Obama. Just an extraordinary speech.
And you saw Kamala at the top of that speech acknowledge that history, acknowledge all of the women who came before her, nameless women in some instances who were stepped on and looked over for centuries in this country, but all the while tried to push it forward. She mentioned Shirley Chisholm, and then she wove her own personal story into that history. I think millions of little brown girls and boys across the globe really looking at this moment and in many ways maybe thinking that it could have happened, but you saw something extraordinary tonight. Vice presidential nominee Kamala Harris accepting that nomination, and then the first black president essentially passing the baton to this daughter of immigrants, a father from Jamaica and a mother from India. You know, I came into this day thinking about my grandmothers, Katie Ruth and Bertha May, Katie Ruth from Mississippi and Bertha May from Canada, women who like the women who you heard Kamala talk about, who never necessarily could have imagined this because of the experiences that they had in their own lives, the experiences of sexism and racism, but kept pushing forward and wanting to expand the idea of what America could look like, and always wanting that seat at the table, but always being denied. Not tonight. You know,
Anderson, and just watching this unfold tonight, I have to say that watching Barack Obama, this was not a convention speech. This was sort of the new definition of the fierce urgency of now, and I could see him in the Oval Office. It was intimate, and it was chilling, and he was declaring a national emergency. And what he was doing was saying, I need you to save democracy, nothing less. Yes, he talked about what he believes, et cetera, but this was on a higher plane. This was the emergency. And he is saying, you know, you've got to do this now. And you could see it in his voice, you could see it in him.
Let me just read a couple of the lines. That everything depends on the outcome of this election, 76 days. Do not let them take away your power. Do not let them take away your democracy. Make a plan right now. He talked to white factory workers, to black mothers, to new immigrants, to young people. And again, he repeated that refrain, what we do echoes through the generation.
Right, and so he's saying, don't let them do this to our country. They can't take the democracy away from us. And so this was sort of a cri de coeur, I don't know what you want to call it, but a president talking to the country, former president talking to the country and declaring an emergency.
Yeah, and David, not screaming in all caps from the White House like President Trump on his Twitter machine, speaking in lowercase with the camera kind of almost looking up at him a little bit. The intimacy of it also was unique.
Right. You know, Anderson, going into this, there was a lot of discussion about, well, Obama's, worried about his legacy in this election. He's fighting for his buddy and all of that. Let me just be really clear, and everybody knows my relationship, okay? I've known this guy for 30 years. We're good friends. I worked with him through many, many speeches. The guy who went to Philadelphia tonight did not go there as a partisan, did not go there as a Democrat. He went there as a person who loves the country, who loves this democracy, believes in it, and with all its imperfections, believes that we have the ability to grab the wheel of history and turn it in the right direction or the wrong direction, and sees this as a critical moment in our history. And he wanted to take this opportunity and talk directly, not just to Democrats, but to the country about this moment. He elevated it. You mentioned the president's tweets. That just accentuates the fact that the one president was taking this to a much higher plane, and the other guy can't get there. He cannot.
He's incapable. There's no way he can ever give a talk like this. Right? He could never give a talk like this.
Well, he
so sitting in his bathroom tweeting is the best he can do.
Well, I don't even think he understood this. The fact that he was sort of hate tweeting in all caps, I don't think he understood at all what Barack Obama was talking about. And Obama was saying, look, I understand why people don't like government. I understand why you're turned off. but just look right ahead. Look at what is happening in this country. And meantime, the president is kind of hate tweeting him. And
well, yeah, I mean, and it was sort of spasmodic tweets of random arguments, just trying to say something to stop what he was seeing on television or respond to what he was seeing on television. I also think that the portion of the speech about Joe Biden was very significant because, again, not now to return to more mundane matters of electing a president. Joe Biden needed the affirmation. People need to hear that. This whole evening, I think, was enlarging for Joe Biden. But Obama's testimony was very important because he did live with Joe Biden in that White House for 8 years, knows him better than anyone else, and can testify in a very credible way. Yeah, he did, and he did rely on him. And I was there. I was a witness to the many times in which Biden was handed very sensitive assignments, in which Biden went behind closed doors with the president and counseled him on the most sensitive decisions that he had to make. And I really think focusing on the role that he played was very important for purposes of this convention, but for purposes of this country, setting the stakes in this election, and making it clear that this is not any other. The fact that he said, I never expected him to continue my policies, what he was saying is, if this were a normal president and a normal election, he would not approach it this way.
He wouldn't be giving that speech.
When Trump...
Right. And there was something I was reminded of what...
Sorry, David, finish your thought.
Go ahead, Nia. No, what I was going to say is when Trump got elected, Obama made clear, I will not speak out on the day-to-day workings of the presidencies or his decisions, but if there are matters of fundamental constitutional principle or fundamental values, then I feel I must. Tonight, it all culminated in that speech. And I think, I've worked with him on many speeches. This, to me, what may be the most historically important one he's ever given.
I mean,
and he, of course,
in my lifetime, I don't know that I've heard a speech like this. Go ahead, Nate.
Yeah, no, I think that's right. I mean, I think another important speech, the race speech, also given in Philadelphia. Here he was as the constitutional scholar tonight. That was what he spent his life doing before he got into politics and explaining the Constitution. There's also this theme, I think, that is playing out with all of these people who are coming out and speaking against Donald Trump, essentially saying, we gave him a chance. We had hoped that he would behave in the way that a president should behave, that he would feel the weight and the awesomeness of the office, but that never happened. And you could see, I'm reminded of what Van said, sort of the reluctance that he had to come to this moment. There was a sort of sadness and somberness that here he was having to make this speech in this moment in history, and now having to rally the country, rally those folks who might not have taken this seriously, might not have thought that Donald Trump would behave in this way and say, listen, it's up to you to save this country in the way that John Lewis and those folks in the 1960s did the same for this country.
I want to bring in Van Jones. Van, you talked a lot about the speech beforehand, about his reluctance probably to make this kind of a speech. What did you think about it?
Well, look, I thought Obama did what he had to do, but I got the feels, man. You got a lot of people who watched Kamala Harris tonight holding their daughter's hands. Something beautiful, amazing happened tonight. People have begun to lose hope in this country. Maybe I can't make it. Maybe nothing's possible anymore. When you have a black woman standing up there the way that she was, proud, strong, warm, telling the story, being a stroller's view of protest. My family's been doing this. She's representing something. She's putting medicine out here for people. And I know there's a lot that has to be talked about in terms of the policies of it. But this was history. This was a big deal. I've got women texting me from across the country saying, I feel great tonight. I feel like I can make it tonight. There's a brokenness in this country that I think that she was speaking to on a much deeper level than the policy. I think Obama, did what he had to do. Usually the VP brings the blowtorch.